Radio.
Capturing the moments that make life great. Let's go, girls.
It's about growing personally and professionally.
What's the one thing that really drives you, that really drives your passion?
It's about climbing the ladder or opening a new door.
Too many people give up too early on their dream.
It's about enjoying your professional journey.
I enjoy what I do.
It's about keeping things real.
So the interview is an interviewing the interviewer. I like this.
It's all about you.
But I knew that there was something else I wanted to do with my life. I knew I wanted to help people.
This is Up or Out with Connie Fife.
You love your voice. You need to be on radio.
And now, your host, Connie Fife.
Hello, this is Connie Fife, your unstoppable diva, and welcome to Up or Out with Connie. I am so excited to be here today. We have an awesome guest, somebody that I know from the C-Suite Network. And as you all know, I am the premier female headliner on the C-Suite Network, but we've also added iHeartRadio and Sirius XM to our lineup. So we're hitting over 900 networks around the globe, and that takes us to about 2 million listeners. So be sure you're listening each week and go over to iTunes, and we'd love to have you subscribe to the network, and also go over to our Facebook group, Up or Out Network. And when you see one of our episodes populate in that group, type in hashtag Unstoppable Together, and we are going to be sending out lots of free goodies to you to help you scale your business. And if there's anything else you want to hear on the show, type it in the Up or Out Network in Facebook and say, hey, we're really looking, for more information on marketing. We're looking for more information on how to become a podcaster. Put that in there, and we'll bring all of that information back to you, because we are here to serve you, our listeners, because you are the ones that are making us number one. So back to the show. So the question is, do you desire to move up and be heard in the boardroom? Or are you looking to become a highly paid expert and an entrepreneur? Whatever that is, we got it all right here for you. So to quote for today is, it always seems impossible until it gets done. It's always impossible until you do it. And when you do it, and then you're always going to say, oh, that was easy. But it doesn't work until you start. So make sure that you do. So it's doing the right thing. What is your definition of leadership? It's doing the right thing. Managers and people who do the right things, and leaders are people doing the right thing. They're leaders. That's who leaders are. So remember that, and think about your definition of leadership. So hang in there. We need to take a really quick sponsor break, because they're the ones paying the bills, and we'll be right back with today's guest. Hi, this is Connie Fife, your unstoppable diva, host of Up or Out with Connie. I am thrilled to be a headliner host on the C-Suite Network, where you can grow your brand, grow your tribe, and be unstoppable together. We are the hottest podcast for C-level executives and entrepreneurial leaders. Each week, we interview content leaders on leadership, personal brand, business, and influence. Continue hearing me right here on the C-Suite Network, also on iHeartRadio, Sirius XM, iTunes, and over 900 networks around the globe. Follow me on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter, because you don't want to miss any of the good stuff. Until next time, this is Connie Fife, your unstoppable diva. Be bold, be connected, and be unstoppable together. We're back, and you're listening to Up or Out with Connie, and it is time to turn up the volume, because we have an exciting guest for you today. Provocative strategies on innovation, leaders of a 20,000 person innovative practice, author of 5 books, creator of the creator of high performing innovative teams. He's been featured in multiple national magazines, board member of the National Speakers Association, certified speaking professional, Speaker Hall of Fame inductee. He's also a mentor and judge of TLC's Girl Starter. Welcome to the show, my good friend, Stephen Shapiro. Stephen,
Hey.
welcome to the show.
Connie, great to be here. Thanks so much for having me.
I'm so excited that you're here. I know we tried to for a bit of time, but that only says, hey, we're busy. We're trying to make it happen, trying to get it together. So let's talk about innovation for a minute, because just like leadership, innovation has so many different definitions out there. So in the terms of innovation and the teams that you've led and high-performing teams, how do you differ innovation within the company so they're doing the best and they're being the best at everything that they can be?
Well, I think that the key thing with innovation is to recognize that it's not about new products or processes or even ideas, which is, what a lot of people tend to think about. Maybe it's brainstorming. It's actually none of those. I mean, there's a reason why we innovate, and it's to stay relevant. Because if you're not staying relevant, well, then you're not going to have much of a business. And so it's about purposeful change. It's about adapting to meet the needs of the market. And it's about doing that quickly, because change, if it goes too slowly, everybody's going to outpace you and you'll be out of business. So that's really the key here, is to get very clear on why we're innovating as the starting point.
Now, I like how you talk about don't think outside the box, but find a better box. Because I remember back, years ago, when I was still working at the U.S. Chamber, I believe it was, and one of my feedback that I received was that I'm an outside the box thinker. And the more and more I thought about that and think about that over the years, I'm like, that's not really a good thing. So when you say find a better box, I know exactly what you're referring to, because when you think outside the box, you're like an octopus and you got too many things going on, where, think what's inside the box. So how do you look at that? What is your definition of that?
Well, I liked your little octopus definition there. I think that was pretty cool. I mean, here's the reality: is you give somebody a blank sheet of paper and ask them to come up with an idea. Right. They will, but it's going to be the same types of ideas we've always come up with in the past, because the brain is actually wired to focus on the past and bring it into the future. So the whole concept of finding a better box means don't expand your thinking, but you need to look in a different place. And it is about the question. We, in innovation, a lot of times get so caught up in ideas. We have suggestion boxes, idea management systems, and those things really don't provide the greatest level of value. The best value you can get is by helping people ask better questions and ask them in a better way as a means of accelerating the types of solutions you'll develop.
So when I was told you're really good, you're excellent at what you do, and you think outside the box, that really doesn't serve me well today. I need to look for that different box. But I like how you said, like, ask questions. And in some cultures in business, because I do still do a lot of work in corporate, sometimes people are afraid to come forward to ask those questions.
Well, but that's what we need to create, as an environment that allows for that. Because the question, we always say, don't bring me problems, bring me solutions. Right. But I actually think that's the wrong message. The message should be, how do we get people to bring me bigger, meatier, juicier problems, greater opportunities? Because there is a means of finding solutions quickly. Right. I actually find the solution part to be the easy part. It's the question part that is the tough part, but we don't take the time to make sure we're even asking the right question. And I have so many interesting, fascinating examples around that, where changing the question changes the result and changes the speed at which you get the result.
Oh, I love that. I love that. And when you were saying that, something came to mind. And so we always say, come to us with the solution. And I'll say, I've been guilty of that. But rather than coming to the solution, come with the question, and perhaps there's that innovative brainstorming that we need to have around that. And the outcome could be much different, rather than doing the same thing over again and just tightening the screw, that was loose or whatever. But maybe there's something really new that we need to look at to make a completely different solution. And that's getting people to ask those questions and not being afraid to ask those questions and knowing what the right questions are to ask. So I love how you put that. So expertise is the enemy of innovation. So, and that happens because we hire people that are just like us. It's human nature. And when you say that we're all cut from the same cloth, that is so true. And that's because you're hiring people just like you. So what happens? How can you get that breakthrough? How can you find and know that right person to hire when they're not just like you?
Yeah, well, I think one of the key things is to recognize that if you hire people who fit the mold, the company will eventually grow mold. So you don't want that. That's not a good thing. So the first thing is to recognize, because expertise is the enemy of innovation, which means that as human beings, two things happen. One is we want to perpetuate the past, because that's a great survival mechanism. What kept me alive yesterday will most likely keep me alive tomorrow. So the brain wants to continue to perpetuate what it's done previously.
Right.
And then the second survival mechanism is we want to surround ourselves with people who are similar to us. Yeah. So birds of a feather flock together. That's the truism, not opposites attract. So when you take those two things, what we need to recognize is that each of us has a particular way that we contribute to the success of an organization. But we also have particular behaviors that are going to help us detract from the success of an organization. And when we understand our blind spots, when we understand where we are going to be deficit in helping the company, then we can reach out and pull the right people onto our team. This is not how we're wired, though, because either we so believe our hype, we become so overly confident in our ideas that we move in the wrong direction, or we surround ourselves with people who are very similar to us.
And that doesn't help. I mean, it just doesn't. You can't move if everyone is in the same place and everyone is similar. So I really want to know more about this program that you're involved with on TLC, because again, I was the CEO for Girl Scouts, and I just have an affinity for helping girls grow and be successful. So tell us more about that.
Sure. So it's a TV show and a movement called Girl Starter, which I got involved with at the beginning of the year. And the way I got started with the program initially was on the TV show. It was on TLC. Al Roker is the executive producer of the show. And basically what it was is 8 young women between 18 and 24 years old who were paired up, and they would compete against each other to create and launch a new business from scratch. And this went over the course of 6 weeks. Each week was a different step of the innovation process. And I was involved as a judge and mentor on the TV show. And I've been actively involved with the movement since then, trying to promote entrepreneurism and starting business in the younger generation of women.
I love that. And I love the movement. And that's something, again, I've been so involved with. It's been 11 years since I've been with Girl Scouts. I still get girls who are now women contacting me for no longer selling cookies, but contacting me for referrals or testimonials, or just to be a mentor. And there's so many of them that I've had that opportunity to work with. So just in awe of what you're doing with this show and the show itself, and how incredible that is. And it's something that we need. And I mean, with a lot of what's happening today, and whether it be politics or the women's movement, but just that movement to show girls that there are so many opportunities out there for them. And again, at Girl Scouts, I remember having so many conversations with these girls. And the one that always stands out the most with me is there was this young girl at camp. I would always go visit camp and visit the girls. And that's how I got my label, the Queen. That was my camp name. They called me the Queen. And she was saying how she wanted to be a publisher in a newspaper, and she was in 8th grade and didn't think she could ever go to college. The family couldn't afford it, and her school didn't have a newspaper. So my recommendation for her was to go back to her school and find a teacher that would work with her to create a school newspaper, even if it was just 1 page. And that's how she started. And today she is an editor at the New York Times.
Wow, that's so awesome.
Yeah, she was, later, I mean, we helped her, not only her, but other girls, get some scholarships so they can go to school. And so, yeah, so one of the proudest moments I have, but there are so many other ones as well with some of the girls that were there. And, but just to say, that they were, that they can find something out of nothing. And that's really what it is. And that's what I want to be part of, mentoring young girls, to show them that there is other opportunities out there. Because when I was younger, I didn't know about the opportunities either. And my childhood wasn't the best growing up. It wasn't until later that I became a Girl Scout as an adult and learned that there are so many other opportunities out there. We need to, as adults, we need to do our work, and we need to really expand this movement and show these girls that there are other opportunities out there for them.
Yeah, and for me, this is great because I spend most of my time dealing with the C-suite and the boardroom and the executives.
Right.
But this is a chance to really get people to take control of their own lives, their own destiny, create their own businesses, and launch something that will obviously have a very positive impact on themselves, but potentially will have a massive impact on society. And I think the time is right. I think there's so much momentum behind this. And so I'm just thrilled to be part of it.
Well, I am thrilled too. And I mean, and I still know, of course, the mission of the Girl Scouts, which is courage, confidence, and characters, to help build girls to give back to the world, to give back to the community. And I mean, that's exactly what they're doing with this show. So I applaud you for that and being part of that. So thank you for that. So we need to take a sponsor break. And when we come back, we're going to be putting you in the hot seat.
Hi, this is Greg Davis. Connie asked me to pop in for a moment to tell you about a great opportunity. Have you ever listened to a podcast and thought, I should be doing that, but I don't know how, I don't know where to start? Well, Up or Out with Connie Fife has partnered with Park Lane Media Group to offer you PMR podcast production. What is PMR? Production, marketing, response. The three key elements you need to successfully build your podcast success. For more information, visit parklanemediagroup.com or email podcast@parklanemediagroup.com and be sure to let them know that Connie sent you. You have a story to tell. We'll help you share it. Come to parklanemediagroup.com today and start building your podcast success.
We're back, and you're listening to Up or Out with WCONNIE, and joining us today is Stephen Shapiro, talking about innovation and how to differentiate yourself and how you can stand out in the C-suite, in your teams, whatever it is that you are doing, because we have so many people, so many of our listeners are still in the C-suite. And then we have 51% of our listeners that are still in the C-suite, and we have 49% of our listeners who are either already taken this step to become an entrepreneur, or they're building their plan B. They're in that phase. So we're pretty much even 50-50 of who our listeners are. So Stephen, before we go into the hot seat, how can our listeners learn and find out more about you?
Easiest way is just go to steveshapiro.com. And you can find out about me. Personality Poker is one of my products that people might be interested in. So, I mean, that's the easiest way.
So Steve or Stephen?
Steve. Well, the nice thing is Steve is, there's only one way to spell Steve. There's two ways to spell Stephen. So I say steveshapiro.com only because the spelling will be correct.
Well, you know how Up or Out came to be, because nobody could spell Fife. I had to come up with another name. And what do? I help people move up or get out. Okay, there you go. Sometimes it just happens.
Exactly.
So this is the hot seat. So I'm going to ask you questions. We learned about the business. Now we want to learn a little bit more about you. So I'll start with an easy one, which is, what is your favorite quote? Leadership quote? Success quote? What is that favorite quote that keeps you going?
I have a lot of them. I think the one which always resonates with me is from Scott Cook at Intuit. He said, for each of our failures, we had spreadsheets that looked awesome. And that one just, it makes me laugh, just as it did you. I mean, because we can justify anything with a spreadsheet. We can justify anything. It doesn't mean we should. And I think that's one of the biggest issues with innovation, is we get so caught up in our own hype and our own beliefs that we forget to test our hypotheses, and failure is not necessarily part of the innovation process.
No, really. I mean, failure is not an option. I mean, I had that. There's a picture on my wall. Well, one was you cannot afford to fail, and then of course the other one was failure was an option. But I've used this tagline when I first started: change, innovate, and sustain. And it just seems like it continues to come back in business every day. You need to change, you need to innovate, and you need to create that sustainability for your business. So that's awesome. So did you know what you wanted to do right from the very start?
When I was younger, very young, I wanted to write mystery books. I wanted to be the CEO of IBM, and I wanted to be a physicist.
Oh, that's a mix.
And then sort of around high school time frame, I wanted to be a game show host because I loved the Gong Show. And Chuck Barris was my childhood idol. So that's the range of things I've wanted to be over the years.
I could picture him in my mind right now hitting gong. And he had that kind of funny talk, like the way he would talk. I could picture.
Yeah, Chucky.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's funny. Some of our listeners would be like, who are you talking about? So all business leaders know that you have to start somewhere. And again, we could have spreadsheets of failures, but what failure can you honestly say and truly say helped you find your success?
I guess it depends on how you define failure, but I know one story for me, which is sort of a powerful story, was earlier on in my career when I was at Accenture. I was one of the leaders of our re-engineering practice, which was all about helping companies optimize. So we helped companies become more efficient, and the end result was people losing their job. And I did this for a number of years. I traveled the world, and as a result, I'm sure hundreds of thousands of people lost their job. And I, without getting into all the details, woke up one morning and realized I can't do that anymore. I can't be responsible for one lost job because I saw the impact on certain people's lives.
Yes.
And I basically decided to dedicate the last part of my life to helping companies grow and create jobs. And my rule of thumb is I won't work on a project where the result is even one lost job.
I love that. I love that. At Girl Scouts, I was a project manager for a realignment. Go figure. And I worked myself out of a job.
There you go.
But I was fighting for, the administration team to stay. I was fighting, that they were all able to maintain their job. And if that meant that I had to walk away, I walked away. But I mean, it happens, but I love how that is your vision, that you want to help people and save companies. And really it's saving the people and having them continue and maintain their quality of life.
Well, and I think that's the thing which really gets me going is it's one thing to help companies and their shareholders. I think that's important.
Right.
But I believe that I'm helping society. I'm helping our economy.
Yeah.
Because if I can help companies grow and create jobs, yes, that's great for them, but it's great for the employees, great for the economy, great for everyone.
Right. It's great for everybody. I love that you have that spin on it, because most people are like, oh, I'm helping a company. And, I always say it's not about the company. It's about the people in the company. The company's only as successful as the people within it. And that's where we have to look at high performance and the leadership and what's going on inside of that. So truly believe in what you vision and what you're doing. So what would you recall was your aha moment when you said, I got this?
I'm not sure I've got this yet.
Most leaders say that. I'm still looking for it.
Well, for me, I love the constant quest, and maybe it's just the creative aspect of me, but I'm always, looking at my life, looking how I differentiate in the marketplace, because I think it's important not just for companies to differentiate, but for individuals to differentiate. And so for me, a lot of it just comes down to how can I make the biggest impact with the most people and have the most fun doing it, because I do think that's an important part. And I'm always twisting, and weaving and bobbing and shifting, and who knows where I'll end up.
I think we need to do that. You have to continually re-engage yourself and take a look at what you're doing. And it wasn't that way. And I know when I was in corporate, it wasn't that way. It was like you went to work every day, you did this. And I know I traveled a lot too, but there wasn't that point of looking at it in terms of how am I helping and giving back to society today. It was more that focus of, okay, I got to get in there. I got to do my 9 to 5. I got to get out. So that's great advice. So what advice would you give someone who is just starting out and looking to pursue their path to success?
I think there's two pieces. The first one is, I always say my best advice is to ignore all advice. And, because when I look at...
show's over.
Yeah. Well, because here's the problem is all of us are so... there's a reason why my book is called Best Practices Are Stupid. Yeah. Look, we don't know what made someone successful, and we don't know the context. So an individual needs to understand their own motivations, their own reasons, their own rationale for what they're trying to create with their business and their life. Right. And then they can reverse and engineer what other people have done, but don't just take somebody's blueprint and assume it's your blueprint.
It never works. It's like your fingerprint. It's all different. The messages is always different. So great advice. I actually listened to the development of the automobile. I'm like a geek like that. I wanted to see how things were created. And I've always been fascinated with cars. So I watched it yesterday. It was, I think it was a TLC. I think it was on TLC about the start of the automobile. And, the competition between Ford and Chrysler and Chevrolet and GM. And it was really interesting, just like you said. So, Ford was leading the pack, for the longest time. And other people kept jumping on board and trying to mirror what he was doing. And it wasn't working. It kept failing along the way until they finally had somebody, brave enough. And that's really what it comes down to take that risk to say, no, we are going to do it different. And then that's when it started becoming more of a competitive field rather than just one person really, monetizing the entire area. So, that's true back to the caveman days. Figure out who you are and go with that. Maybe there's a motivation from someone to keep going, or like you said, re-engineer that, take a step back. But it still has to come back to and down to who you are and what motivates you as a person to keep going.
Absolutely.
So, Stephen, tell our listeners one more time how they can find more about you.
Easiest way, again, is steveshapiro.com. That's SHAPIRO.
SteveShapiro.com. Thank you for being here today. Author, speaker, TV celebrity. Thank you for all you're doing to help young women launch new business. And thank you for everything that you're doing for the National Speakers Association as well, and the C-Suite. And I could just keep going. Everything that you're doing.
Thanks, Connie. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. So everyone out there, be sure to subscribe to iTunes, Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn because you don't want to miss any of the good stuff. Head over to my Facebook page, Upper Out Network. When you see a post of an episode from Upper Out Connie, type in Unstoppable Together and receive tools to help you scale your business. It's our morning brew with a business boost. It's great being here with you today. Ask yourself, if you could do something different to get a different result, what would you be doing? I'm Connie Fife, your Unstoppable Diva. Until we meet again, be bold, be connected, and be unstoppable together.